"Get out of my lobby. This place isn't for folks like you." Those words weren't just said on a whim. They were delivered like a policy statement, loud, confident, and well-rehearsed. David Brown, the manager of the Grand Horizon Hotel right in downtown Seattle, stood behind the front desk with his arms crossed and a judgmental look on his face. He wasn't whispering. He wasn't hiding. He said it so the whole hallway could hear. He looked straight at the black woman in casual clothes and decided right then that she didn't belong there. What he didn't know was that in just 9 minutes, the woman standing in front of him would fire him and his entire team right in the lobby where he tried to humiliate her. Before we dive deeper into this, let me know where you're watching from. Comment your city below. And if this moment made you pause like the guests around her, hit that subscribe button and like the video. Now, let's go back to how this moment all started. Sophia Carter walked in alone through the glass doors of the Grand Horizon. No assistant, no fancy purse, no labels, just a black t-shirt, fitted jeans, and calm eyes that had seen this kind of thing before. She took slow, confident steps across the marble floor. Her sneakers barely made a sound, but her presence created a wave that spread through the lobby. She approached the front desk, where David stood behind it. 48 years old, with Lauren Hayes. 30, her hair in a tight ponytail and a smile that was even brighter. And Kevin Patel, 27, with his arms crossed and eyes narrowed in suspicion. No one greeted her. No one smiled. They just looked her up and down like something was about to go wrong. "I have a question," Sophia said calmly. "The penthouse suite. The name's Carter." David narrowed his eyes at her like he misheard. "That's a very upscale room." "Are you sure you booked the right hotel?" Sophia didn't respond to the insult. She calmly slid her ID and black credit card across the desk. David picked them up with 2 fingers, holding the card like it might dirty him. "That's odd," he muttered. "It looks suspicious." Lauren pressed a button on the desk. Her voice came over the internal system. "Security." "There might be an unauthorized guest trying to access one of our premium rooms. It could be fraud." Sophia's expression didn't change. Her voice stayed soft. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm here to book a room." Kevin scoffed. "You know, people always try this. They show up with weird cards, fake names, hoping we won't check." Across the room, Sophie Lynn, a travel blogger from San Francisco, raised her phone. "I'm recording this," she whispered to her friend Jacob Reed. Then louder, "This is going up." "Everyone needs to see this." Jacob started live streaming. "We're at the Grand Horizon in Seattle, and we're witnessing something awful happening in real time." Elena Ruiz, the young receptionist standing off to the side, looked up from her workstation. Her eyes met Sophia's. Something passed between them. Silent and quick. Maybe recognition or concern. Elena took a step forward, but David glanced at her and cut in, "She doesn't belong here." Sophia pulled out her phone and sent a silent message. On the other end, in an office a few blocks away, her executive assistant, Nia Thompson, picked up immediately. "It's happening," Sophia said quietly. "The system is ready." David still held her card, flipping it over like he was waiting for it to confess something. "You know, we've seen scams like this before. People come in, say they have a reservation, show a card with a high limit, and disappear as soon as we call the bank. Lock it up. Kevin eagerly took it and headed to the small safe. He opened the drawer behind the desk, revealing a polished steel safe. But not this time. He turned to Kevin and handed him the card. "Lock it up." Kevin eagerly took it and headed to the small safe. He opened the drawer behind the desk, revealing a polished steel safe that was overly maintained. He placed the card inside and slammed the door shut. He smiled and said, "You're done here." Sophie was recording and exclaimed, "They're just taking her card." Jacob stepped closer. "That's theft." "That's not policy." Sophia didn't move. At a fancy hotel in Atlanta after a late flight. She was in athletic wear, exhausted from meetings, and had... Her voice stayed calm. "You'll regret this." At 24, Sophia stepped into a fancy hotel in Atlanta after a late flight. She was in athletic wear, exhausted from meetings, and had confirmed her reservation. The man at the front desk looked her up and down and said, "You don't look like someone who'd stay here." He told her the system was down and she could come back when the manager arrived. That night, she slept in her car. The next morning, she started outlining a business plan that grew into one of the largest hotel service chains in the country. Now, standing in the lobby of the hotel she owns, with the same tone, the same assumption, the same kind of man trying to dismiss her again. David leaned in. "Your reservation's been canceled." "We don't tolerate deception. You're holding up real guests." Sophia didn't flinch. "Do you mean the people watching this video right now?" She gestured toward Sophie and Jacob, who were still recording. The other guests had stopped what they were doing. Some were staring, some were whispering, some were clearly uncomfortable. Elena watched, her jaw clenched. Lauren stepped in. "You need to leave right now." Sophia kept staring. "Are you sure?" Lauren's voice was full of confidence. "Absolutely, or we'll call the authorities." David chuckled. "Go ahead, make a scene." "This won't end well for you." Sophia didn't blink. "That's the last time you talk to me like that." Finally, Elena stepped forward. "She's right. This morning I saw her name in our system. Her reservation is valid." David whipped around to look at her. "One more word, and you're gone." Sophia reached for her phone again. This time, her voice was louder. "Nia, capture this moment." "Timestamp the video." Nia's voice came through clearly. "Logged in. The system is ready." Jacob leaned toward the desk, pointing at the card through the safe's glass. "It says Carter VIP." "It's real. She's the real deal." David scoffed. "Anyone can fake a card." Sophia cut in. "Finish that sentence. Go on." But he didn't. The words caught in his throat as he noticed the eyes around them multiplying. "Your career," she said. David smiled as if he still held power. "You think so?" She stared at him. "No, I..." Sophia stepped forward, calm and in control, but every word carried weight. "You've just made the worst mistake of your career." David smiled as if he still held power. "You think so?" She stared at him. "No, I know." So, as the tension wrapped around the lobby like a tightening noose, no one, not David, Lauren, or Kevin, knew who she really was, but they were about to find out. Kevin Patel's voice echoed through the lobby with forced authority. He held up the small silver key to the safe like it was a trophy. He declared that the card was now company property. "And until the bank verifies it, you won't get it back," He grinned, self-satisfied. Behind him, the safe door slammed shut with a cold thud. But Kevin didn't see the storm he just invited in. Sophia Carter stood there, unflinching. Her face was unreadable, her silence more convincing than any outburst. David leaned down again, glancing at the growing crowd. "You're wasting everyone's time. Get out now, or we'll decide for you." Just then, Lauren, backed by the manager and Kevin's drama, stepped out from behind the desk, adjusted her jacket, and grabbed Sophia's arm. "You've been warned. It's time for you to go." The moment her hand touched, the entire lobby's atmosphere shifted. Gasps echoed. Sophie's phone captured the movement immediately. "She just grabbed her," she yelled, then uploaded the clip to Reddit with a simple caption, "This is happening live at the Grand Horizon." Jacob's livestream now had over 100 viewers, most flooding the chat with shock and disbelief. Elena Ruiz stepped forward, her voice trembling with anger. "You can't touch a guest." "Her reservation is valid." Lauren spun around, eyes flashing. "Stay out of this if you want to keep your job." But Elena didn't back down. She looked at Sophia, who hadn't moved an inch, and took a small step closer to her. "I won't lie for you." Just then, David dropped all pretense. "She's trying to scam us." "People like her always think they can game the system." His tone was deeper, more venomous now, but those words reached at least 3 guests standing nearby. One of them, a silver-haired woman, raised her phone a bit higher and said casually, "I can't believe what I'm hearing." Another man in a navy suit leaned toward Jacob's feed and said, "Are you getting all of this?" Jacob nodded. All of it. In the center of the storm, Sophia stood still, eye unmoving. She brought the phone back to her ear. "Nia," she said calmly, "upgrade the internal system. Start the audit log. I want to record every word from this point on." On the other end, Nia Thompson's voice was clear. "Understood. Time stamped and recording. Do you want Carla on standby?" Sophia replied, "Give me 1 more minute." As she said that, Kevin leaned over the desk and shouted loud enough for the far wall to hear, "You're a fraud, ma'am. Do you think a card like that gets you in here? Go back to where you came from." A wave of whispers rippled through the lobby. Elena had fully stepped out from behind the desk now, standing shoulder to shoulder with Sophia. "I've worked here for 3 years, and I've seen this before. Every time a guest like her walks in alone, confident, dressed simply, you treat them like criminals." David's eyes narrowed, and every time someone questions it, Elena continued, "You call it policy, but it's not. It's you." The past stories seeped into Sophia's mind. She was 16, dressed in her Sunday clothes, waiting in a hotel lobby in Charlotte. Her parents were late. A receptionist approached and said, "This area is for guests only." She tried to explain, but the woman wouldn't listen. She was escorted to the sidewalk like a vagrant. The shame stayed with her for years. It didn't make her small. It made her sharp. It made her stronger. David still wasn't stopping. He turned to Elena. "Enough. I want her out now. Or I'll have security escort both of you." Lauren, who had been quiet since Sophia started recording, quickly added, "You're refusing to provide valid ID. This is a violation. I'll report it." but the tension was turning against them. Jacob was still recording, turning the camera to his face. To clarify, we're watching a guest being harassed by hotel staff after she provided her name, card, and ID, and now they're trying to use force to remove her. That's not just poor service. It's disgusting. Sophia turned to Kevin, her voice no louder than before. Return my card immediately, or you'll be blacklisted from the Horizon system forever. No job, no references, no appeals. Lauren snorted. You're not representing Horizon. But Elena spoke up right away. She is. Elena, you don't even know who she is. Sophia interjected. Oh, she does. We all do. She turned the camera toward Sophia. Look at how she's standing. Look how calm she is. That's not someone begging for service. That's someone letting you dig your own grave. Sophia's voice remained steady. Kevin, last chance. David tried to salvage the moment. This isn't personal. It's about protocol. But his words came too late. Sophie's and Jacob's videos were spreading, and guests were whispering about what they just saw. One man said, I've stayed here for years, never coming back. A young woman with a carry-on turned to Elena and asked, Is she really who I think she is? Elena didn't answer, but her silence said enough. Then, the shift happened suddenly, changing the entire temperature of the lobby. Elena stepped forward, her voice louder. This isn't the first time David has ignored complaints like this. He's been warned. I've logged 3 of them in the last month. 2 women of color alone. All dismissed? David's face flushed red. That's a lie. Sophia slowly looked around. Every phone is up. Every guest is watching. The time you ran this place without oversight is over. If you don't leave, I'll call the police myself. Sophia smiled. Please do. And in that moment, David hesitated for the first time as he saw something in her face that made him uneasy. Not fear, not uncertainty, but controlled power, silent and beyond his reach. The guests started moving, subtly but purposefully, stepping between Sophia and the desk. They didn't know her name yet, but they knew enough. A woman pulled her suitcase right in Lauren's path. Another man unplugged his phone charger from the outlet and stood next to Elena. Jacob panned his phone around the growing crowd. Now they're protecting her. Sophia, still in the middle, took a step forward and said, This lobby belongs to me. The words weren't shouted. They didn't need to be. Kevin's smile faded. Lauren looked down. David blinked. And in that silent moment, the lobby that had felt hostile began to change. How would you react if someone tried to push you out of the hotel you own? Share your thoughts in the comments below. David's voice boomed through the marble hallway like a cannon. Get her out now. The lobby was no longer quiet. Phones were up. Whispers had turned to open protests. But David, red-faced and shaking with authority, pressed on, She's trespassing. She's a liar. He turned to the internal system and slammed his hand on the button. Kevin's voice echoed through the lobby speakers. All staff, unauthorized individuals in the lobby are not to engage. Repeat, do not interact with this guest. Fraud alert. The silence that followed was heavier than the announcement itself. Sophia didn't flinch, but the guests did. Sophie Lynn yelled from the corner, She's not a fraud. We're recording everything." Her voice shook, not from fear, but from anger. Jacob's livestream viewer count surged to over 2,000. Comments poured in like waves. "That's theft." Unbelievable. How does this happen in a luxury hotel? A mother with her teenage daughter, just checking out, whispered, "They're going to regret this." Meanwhile, Lauren, though shaking, followed David's lead and grabbed Sophia's arm again, pulling her toward the exit. "Let's go." "You're embarrassing yourself." Just then, Elena Ruiz stepped between them. "Don't touch her again." Lauren froze. "You'll be fired." Elena didn't back down. "Then fire me. But you don't touch her." David lunged forward. "Do you even know who she is?" "She's a fraud. Look at her." He pointed at Sophia's t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers. Sophia's voice was soft. "Enough. You keep saying fraud, like it makes your mistake disappear." She took a small step forward. The space between them narrowed like a noose tightening around David's story. At 29, Sophia flew to Los Angeles for a conference. She wore a Navy outfit, professional but not flashy. The man behind the desk looked at her ID, then at her, then back at the card. "That can't be you. We'll need a second form of ID." She provided one, then another, but they still made her wait while they verified for 2 hours. Meanwhile, she watched 3 white men walk in and get rooms without showing ID. That night, she drafted a policy she'd later implement in her hotels: zero tolerance for guest profiling. That moment lived in her bones. And now, this one would too. David barked at Kevin. "Call them in right now." But Kevin hesitated. His confidence was crumbling. Jacob, still live streaming, turned to a nearby guest. "Sir, what are you seeing here?" The man replied without hesitation. "I see someone being kicked out of the hotel she actually owns." David spun around. "That's slander. She hasn't proven anything." Sophia calmly turned her phone to the crowd. "Does anyone want proof?" Jacob called out immediately. "Show them." But she didn't pull out a badge or contract. Instead, she turned to Elena and asked gently, "Do you see my name in the reservation system?" Elena nodded. "Yes, it's under the Carter penthouse suite. Booked remotely." Sophia continued, "And is it marked VIP?" Elena nodded again. "Yes, flagged for executive override." "Owner-level access?" The lobby went silent. David's eyes darted. That could be forged. She could have hacked it. Sophia shot back. "Do you really think someone off the street hacked your system and brought 2,000 witnesses?" Lauren suddenly paled, staring at the floor. Kevin stepped forward hesitantly. "Following your lead. Greg, I locked the card in the safe. What if we're wrong?" Sophia turned to him. "You stole my property." "That's exactly what you did. But you had a choice." Kevin's mouth opened and closed. Then, the crowd shifted. An elderly woman with white hair and a floral scarf stepped forward. She stood between Sophia and Lauren and said simply, "You won't touch her again." Another man joined in, then a woman with a stroller. In seconds, a loose semicircle formed in front of Sophia, as if the guests themselves had drawn the line. David stood behind the desk, suddenly looking much smaller than he had minutes ago. Sophia glanced around the human barrier that had formed without her asking. "That's how it is," she said gently. As the silence stretched, Jacob panned his phone across the crowd. "They're standing with her now, and I don't think they're going anywhere." David's desperation peaked. He shouted over the lobby noise, "You're all being manipulated. She's playing you." Then Kevin, still holding the internal mic, whispered something almost inaudible. But the whole lobby heard it echo through the speakers. "She owns this place, doesn't she?" It hung in the air like smoke. Sophia slowly brought the phone to her face. "Does she own it?" Elena stepped up. "Yes." Gasps spread through the room. A man near the sofa whispered, "Wait, this is her hotel." Lauren, horrified, turned to David. "You said she was lying." David said nothing. Jacob looked into the lens. "This is the moment everything changes." Sophia took another step forward, this time past Elena, through the semicircle of guests, straight to the desk where David stood frozen. "You want me out?" she said evenly. "You set me up. You called me a thief. And you humiliated me in my own lobby." David's mouth opened, but no words came out. Nia's voice rang out loud and clear. "Sophia, Carla is ready." "Do you want me to call her through?" Sophia's eyes didn't leave David. "Yes, right now." She tapped the screen once, and Carla Bennett's sharp, careful voice came through the speaker. "Sophia, everything's ready. We're waiting on your order." Sophia took a deep breath. "Terminate David. Terminate Lauren. Terminate Kevin. Remove them from the Horizon system immediately. Freeze their access and log this incident for legal audit." A brief silence confirmed it. Then Carla said, "Processing." Instantly. David's access card flashed red. Lauren's did too. Kevin's did too. They were locked out in front of all the guests. No yelling, no drama, just justice. Silent, absolute, irreversible, and in the eyes of every guest present. One truth was clear. This woman wasn't just defending herself. She dismantled a system in just 9 minutes. What would you do if you witnessed this? Let us know in the comments below. The last piece of David's calm shattered in that moment. His access card flashed red. He stared at it, stunned, as if it had betrayed him. Kevin's face went pale as his card flashed the same error, locking him out of the Horizon system in real time. Lauren stiffened, her lips parted in disbelief, still clutching the desk edge as if it would keep her job from slipping away. But the lobby had shifted. What was once a stage of dominance now vibrated with rebellion. Elena Ruiz, no longer the silent gatekeeper, stood tall beside Sophia, jaw set, voice steady. "They're fired." "They no longer represent Horizon." David raged. "This is illegal. You can't just... That's not how hotels work." He turned to Lauren desperately. "Call corporate. Call someone now." But Lauren's hand shook as she checked her phone. "Blocked. Horizon's internal system shut down our logins." "I'm locked out. It's all gone." Kevin tried to step toward the safe to retrieve Sophia's card, but Elena raised her hand. "Stop right there. You're no longer authorized to handle guest property." "Step away from the desk." Kevin hesitated, then slowly backed off. And then came the final push. David, boiling with shame, lashed out in the worst way possible. Do you really think this circus makes you a leader? You cheated your way in. You humiliated us in public. You'll be sued for this. But his voice wavered. Sophia tilted her head slightly. Is that what you think leadership is? Hiding everything, manipulating perceptions. She gestured to the guests around them. Leadership is when those who've been ignored for too long finally speak up and are heard right here. A woman in the crowd spoke. You never took my complaint seriously last spring. I emailed about an issue during check-in and no one followed up. You were the one who responded and dismissed it. David whipped his head toward her face, then looked away. Recognizing her, another voice. I was charged twice for a room and didn't get a response until I threatened legal action. A man chimed in from behind the sofa. I requested an ADA-compliant room and was told none were available, then watched someone else check in and get one. One by one, guest voices became a chorus of past oversights and denials. Elena stepped forward again, now empowered by truth and consequence. Just in the last 2 months, I've logged 3 complaints about biased behavior at the front desk, each one dismissed. David signed off on the dismissals himself. Lauren backed away until she hit the wall, her eyes darting between the guests and her former colleagues. Greg, what is this? They're turning on us. David's voice was now a whine. They're just angry. This will blow over. But it didn't. It grew. Jacob swept his live stream across the lobby. This is the image of accountability. They pushed too far, and now the guests are speaking up. Then came the moment that sealed it all. Sophie Lynn pulled up her Reddit post. Now it's viral. Hundreds of comments. Dozens of shares. Screenshots of Kevin's internal announcement. This card is now company property. Below it, a clip of Lauren grabbing Sophia's arm. Another clip of David yelling, "People like her don't belong here." It's spreading like wildfire. It's out there, Sophie said loudly. Everyone's seeing it. David's desperation erupted again. He lunged toward the desk, yelling, "Delete it! It's private property." But 2 guests blocked his path. One of them, a quiet man with glasses and a satchel, said simply, "No, you can't silence this." The other, an older woman in a floral shawl, held out her phone. "Your face is online now. You should think twice about your next threat." That was the turning point. Lauren turned to Sophia, her voice shaking. "I didn't know. I didn't mean for it to go this far." But Sophia didn't nod. She didn't console. She just said, "You helped make it happen. You watched it happen." And then David did something no one expected. He turned to Sophia, his voice hoarse, shoulders slumped. "Why didn't you say who you are? You set us up?" Sophia blinked. "No, I gave you every chance to treat me like any other guest." It was a test, and you failed it in front of everyone. Just then, Nia's voice came through again. "Sophia, the board has authorized a full incident response. Carla is ready for your next steps." Sophia looked around the lobby, taking in every stunned face. "Fix it." Carla Bennett's clear, steady voice echoed. "David Brown, Lauren Hayes, Kevin Patel, effective immediately. Your employment with Horizon Hospitality Group is terminated. Your access is revoked. Legal documents are being prepared. Ms. Carter will oversee the next steps. Note to all guests, new management will address your concerns immediately." The weight of those words hit like thunder. Kevin tried one last protest. "This is insane." "We built this place." But Sophia cut him off. "You didn't build anything. You guarded the door and turned away the very people we claim to serve." She turned to Elena. "Please open the safe and retrieve my card." Elena moved efficiently and professionally. She entered a new code of her own and opened the safe. Sophia's black card was still there, untouched. Elena handed it back without a word, but her eyes were full of emotion. Then the guests, one by one, they started clapping. Not wildly, not chaotically, but purposefully, measured, as if acknowledging something long overdue. Sophia looked down at them and said, not in anger, but in certainty, "This isn't just about me. This is about every guest ever told their presence was a problem, about every complaint that vanished, every policy used to humiliate instead of serve. It ends today." David, Lauren, and Kevin stood behind the desk, stripped of their titles, power, audience, but the fallout was just beginning. Sophia turned back to her assistant on the phone. "Nia, we're initiating a full reform at the executive level, preparing statements, and elevating Elena Ruiz's position." "She'll run this location." "Yes, ma'am," Nia replied. And then, Sophia Carter stepped forward. No more confusion, no more anonymity. She had just reclaimed the hotel. Decision by decision. Sophia Carter stood in the middle of the marble lobby, calm and composed, while the 3 disgraced staff members she had just fired stood frozen behind the desk, their faces pale, reputations ruined, and their authority extinguished. David's eyes, once full of arrogance, now darted between the guests, the live-streaming phones, and the woman he had accused of being a fraud. Kevin stared at the wide-open, empty safe, with only Sophia's black card inside, which he had mocked, now neatly in her hand. Lauren was silent, her lips slightly parted, eyes fixed on the floor, afraid to meet anyone's gaze. The guests remained in place, unwilling to turn away. The tension lingered. It had become anticipation, as if everyone in the room knew they were on the edge of something permanent. Sophia slowly turned, facing the crowd, then straightening the hem of her plain black t-shirt. She spoke, not for photos, not for applause, but with the clear, steady tone of a woman who had earned every word. "My name is Sophia Carter. I am the founder and CEO of Horizon Hospitality Group, and from this moment, I am reclaiming this hotel, not just from those who abused their roles, but from every excuse they've ever used to justify it." Those words rippled like a shockwave through the lobby, phones lowered slightly. Eyebrows raised. A guest gasped. Another whispered, "She owns it." The whole company. Jacob's live chat exploded in real time. "The CEO, this changes everything. What a move." David stumbled forward. Wait, that's not how we operate." "You're the CEO. You should know that. There's protocol. There's procedure." "You set us up." "No," Sophia replied without looking away from him. "I walked in like any other guest. Any other guest. Quiet. Alone. Respectful. Quiet. Alone. Respectful. The only thing I didn't bring was privilege." "And you proved exactly how your team reacts to someone who doesn't look the part." Kevin shook his head slowly. We didn't know. We couldn't have known. You didn't need to know, she snapped. That's the point. At that moment, Elena Ruiz moved closer to Sophia, her voice gentle but firm. I recognized the name when she checked in. I saw the debit card and the override permit. I knew who she was, but I didn't say anything. Sophia turned to her. You've done more than anyone else in this lobby. You've told the truth. You've stood up, and now you'll be promoted to customer service director for this hotel. Effective today. Elena's eyes widened in shock. A few guests started clapping again, this time slower. Not for show, but for justice. A quiet moment of victory unfolded in the lobby. Lauren spoke for the first time in minutes. I didn't want things to go this far. I just didn't know what to do. Sophia watched her carefully. You had a choice. Lauren, you made it when you hit the internal call button. When you grabbed my arm, when you laughed, when you watched your colleague lock my card like I didn't matter. Then suddenly, Lauren lashed out. It was David. He told us how to handle people who didn't fit our top-tier guests. He said we were just protecting the brand image. I thought that was normal. David whipped his head back. Furious. That's a lie. Sophia raised her hand, stopping both. No, that's not a lie. It's a confession, and we'll record it. Carla's voice came through the call, steady and calm. We have the log entry. This will be forwarded to compliance and legal. A few guests nodded in agreement. A woman holding her young child spoke up. It's about time someone is held accountable. Jacob, still recording, said into the camera, she's not just firing them, she's exposing the whole system from top to bottom. Kevin stepped forward weakly. What happens to us now? You'll receive official termination notices. Sophia said, your names will be flagged across Horizon's hiring network. You'll be barred from future employment at any of our facilities. And if we uncover any past misconduct hidden under your watch, we'll take further action. David stared at her like a man who had gravely underestimated. All of this just to prove a point? No, she said coldly. All of this because I'm tired of people like you deciding who deserves respect based on appearances. From the crowd. Sophie added, they tried to erase you, and now you're rewriting the rules. Sophia stepped aside, making room for Elena behind the desk. Reset the check-in system. Pause any flagged bookings under David's employee ID. We'll reach out to all affected guests and offer compensation. Elena nodded and got to work, now with steady hands and authority. Sophia turned to the guests. If any of you have been mistreated at this facility today or before, our internal team will be on hand in the lobby. I've instructed Nia to open a direct line for all complaints, and will respond within 48 hours. No form letters, no complicated PR, just answers. The room stood still, then began to murmur, not in chaos, but in understanding. Guests whispered in agreement. An older man tipped his hat and said, "Thank you for not walking away." Sophia nodded gently. "I've walked away too many times. Not anymore." Carla's voice returned. "Mia's channels have the footage." X and Reddit are spreading this post without a hashtag. The story is being built, but you're in control. Sophia nodded firmly. Let them speak. Let the public see what happens when a company not only apologizes, but also takes action. Then, She turned back to David. Lauren and Kevin. You're all fired. Your personal belongings will be sent to you. Security will escort you out of the premises. You aren't to speak to or approach any guests. Elena looked at her. Should I notify building security? No, Sophia replied. Let them go through the lobby. Let every guest see the consequences of unchecked behavior. As the 3 former employees moved through the lobby under the weight of their own shame, no one stopped them. No one showed sympathy. There was only a quiet murmur of relief following them out, and as the door closed behind them, Sophia turned back to her guests and staff, not with relief, but with determination. This isn't justice. This is just a beginning. Reforms start right now. And with those words, Grand Horizon Hotel wasn't just a name carved in stone anymore. It became a place where everything changed. The moment the glass door shut behind David, Lauren, and Kevin, the energy in the Grand Horizon lobby shifted from confrontation to transformation. Guests stood quietly, taking in what they had just witnessed. A private reckoning happened right in front of them, not behind closed doors, but under the crystal chandeliers and beside the gold-plated check-in desk. Sophia Carter, still calm in her black t-shirt and jeans, didn't stop. She turned to Elena Ruiz, who had just been promoted from gate attendant to acting director of guest services, and gave clear instructions. Start the reform plan. Begin from the ground up. Elena, no longer hesitant, nodded and immediately began shutting down the current booking system, deactivating all user logins related to the fired staff. Done, she confirmed in a few minutes. Sophia pulled out her phone. Nia, send an internal alert. Notify the compliance department, diversity operations, and legal team. I want a full audit of the past 18 months at Grand Horizon. Guest complaints, employee behavior records, and prevention logs. Nia responded right away. It's in motion. The media is circling, but your voice is at the center. Carla is prepping a press conference rollout. Guests started approaching Elena, many whispering, unsure whether to offer support. A woman holding a printed booking confirmation whispered, Thank you. I was afraid to speak up earlier. Elena smiled gently. We're listening now. In the corner, Jacob Reed's live stream showed steady growth, now surpassing 10,000 viewers. His caption had been updated to CEO reclaims hotel by firing entire staff in lobby. Real-time reforms. Comments flooded the screen. Sophie, quiet for the first time since she started recording, approached Sophia with her phone lowered. Do you want me to keep posting? She asked. Sophia nodded. Just the truth. That's all I care about. Then, she turned to the crowd. For years, Horizon Hospitality promised inclusivity, but policies mean nothing if bias is ignored behind the front desk. Today, that changes. She looked at Elena again. Reassign all staff training to start within 72 hours. We'll bring in an independent firm, and every front desk manager will go through recertification. No exceptions, no excuses. As Sophia spoke, Carla's voice came back over the speaker. We've approved your full reform plan. Local media is requesting a statement. We've confirmed your authority to suspend current operations for guest safety, Sophia replied. Then, temporarily suspend check-ins at the front desk. Elena will handle VIP guests manually. Others will be redirected to our partner location downtown with a free night. She turned to Elena. Are you okay with that workload? Elena nodded steadily. More than okay. Around them, guests no longer looked like spectators. They looked like supporters. A man offered to help with luggage. A couple volunteered to hand out water bottles to waiting guests. Part recovery room, part headquarters. And then the change hardened Sophia's calm into, from confrontation, unity grew. The lobby now felt different, part recovery room, part headquarters. And then the change hardened Sophia's calm into something sharper. A notification popped up on her screen, an internal flag from compliance. She quietly opened it, skimmed the summary, and clenched her jaw as she read. Then, she looked up and said to no one in particular, "Acting alone." The lobby paused again. Carla's voice returned in her earpiece, this time lower, urgent. "We've pulled." David didn't act alone. The lobby paused again. Carla's voice returned in her earpiece, this time lower, urgent. "We've pulled." Grand Horizons archived complaint records. David submitted falsified summaries to regional headquarters. Complaints marked as resolved were never investigated, and we've found communications between him and former regional director Michael Turner. Sophia's voice dropped, colder now. Turner retired 3 months ago amid a cloud of personnel violations. No one dug deeper because they said he was just old school. Nia's voice chimed in. Turns out he was protecting David. Lauren, too. There's a pattern. Sophia closed her eyes for a moment. Not to escape, but to steady herself. Then, she opened them with clear determination. "We're not just reforming this location," she said. "We're launching a company-wide review. Every flagged employee, every buried complaint, every fake resolution." She turned to Jacob, who was still filming. "You can broadcast this," she said. "Everyone needs to know that the rot starts at the roots and we're digging it up." Guests around her nodded. Some looked stunned, others relieved. A woman in her 70s whispered, "I've waited years to see someone in charge actually do something." Sophia turned to her team. "We're here on vacation," she said. "But we've witnessed a revolution." Sophia glanced around the lobby. She no longer saw just walls and marble. She saw a symbol of what hospitality could be and what it hadn't protected for too long. This hotel wasn't broken because of its decor or design. She said it was broken because people were trained to smile at some guests and question others. Her eyes scanned the room. That era ends today. And the rebuilding process begins 3 months from now. Grand Horizon Hotel is no longer the place where Sophia Carter was humiliated in front of dozens of strangers. The marble floors are still polished, the chandeliers still sparkle, and the velvet chairs still invite guests to sink into quiet luxury. But the silence that once carried judgment now feels welcoming. A framed portrait of Sophia, now hanging near the check-in desk, isn't for vanity, it's for accountability. Below it is a plaque that reads, "This space belongs to every guest, no exceptions." Guests come and go without fear of being judged based on their appearance, accent, or clothing. And behind the desk is Elena Ruiz, now officially appointed as general manager. Not just for her bravery, but because she redefined what a leader looks like at Horizon. The reforms Sophia implemented spread far beyond Seattle. Horizon Hospitality Group launched a comprehensive initiative, auditing all 57 of their locations across the United States. Horizon Hospitality Group launched a comprehensive initiative, auditing all 57 of their locations across the United States. Dozens of previously overlooked complaints resurfaced, and new company-wide staff training protocols were put in place. Every hotel adopted a new ownership compliance council, rotating customer advisors, anonymous feedback systems, and strict enforcement of real accountability. For the guests who witnessed that day, they received personal thank you notes and follow-up calls, not from PR interns, but from Sophia herself. You stood up when others looked away. A message that read, "That matters." Sophia Lynn and Jacob Reed, whose live streams shook the national media without a single hashtag, were invited to speak at Horizon's Internal Leadership Summit, where they emphasized the power of real-time accountability. "We didn't set out to expose anything," Jacob said on stage. "We just refused to put our phones down." But even as the company transformed, the past wouldn't stay buried. A week after the incident, Sophia received a quiet message from a former hotel manager in Portland, a man who had once worked under David years ago. His voice, heavy with guilt, confessed something that made everything darker. David didn't just follow his own biases. He admitted there was a subtle directive from Turner's regional leadership era. They wanted certain guests treated as less priority if they didn't fit the profile. It wasn't on paper, but we all knew. Sophia didn't react with anger. She thanked him for speaking the truth and forwarded the testimony to Carla and the legal team. But that single confession revealed the final twist in the story. The Grand Horizon scandal was never about one man abusing his power. It was about a system that quietly allowed it to happen. As news of the confession spread, former employees from other branches started speaking up. An internal Horizon task force was established to re-interview staff fired under suspicious circumstances. Some were reinstated. Others received settlements. Sophia ensured no one was hired or fired without documentation, and every new manager underwent direct accountability orientation. "It takes more than policies to rebuild trust," she told her board. "It takes proving that silence won't be rewarded and speaking up won't cost you your job." Sophia's own legacy changed. Once known as a quiet billionaire who built a hotel empire through grit and strategy, now she's publicly celebrated as a reformer. Not because she sought attention, but because she finally stepped in to make lasting change. She established a new department in Horizon, called Horizon Forward, an initiative on diversity, equity, and inclusion focused on measurable results, not just slogans. As her first act, Elena Ruiz was appointed as the National Advisor for Frontline Guest Experiences, and at the end of the opening summit, Sophia spoke words that guests, staff, and silent discrimination survivors across the country would never forget. Hospitality doesn't start with the smile you give. It starts with the respect you assume. The audience rose, not for a CEO speaking, but for a woman who was once pushed toward the exit and came back to open doors for everyone else. If you believe everyone deserves respect, share this story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and speak up when silence isn't an option anymore.